5P with Lamondre is being presented by Root Global Impact. Root Global Impact is a multifaceted disability inclusion firm that helps to amplify your disability inclusion efforts and establish you as an inclusion leader in your industry. To learn more about Root Global Impact and how we can help you, go to our website, rootglobal.com. That's RUHglobal.com. Today, we're going to be looking at Sustainable Development Goal 3 to ensure a healthy life and promote well-being for all ages. That's to ensure a healthy life and promote well-being for all ages. Let's get it.
Welcome to 5P with Lamondre, the podcast that's all about the 5 Ps: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. If you're looking to be encouraged, inspired, and challenged, then this is the podcast for you. Here's your host, Lamondre.
Oh, welcome to 5P with Lamondre. I am your host, Lamondre, and today I've got an incredible show in store for you. I can't wait until we can get to it. But before we actually get to that point, isn't that just like me to kind of hold up the good stuff? Before we actually get to that point, I want to remind you that we do have a voicemail line available, and I do want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your show suggestions. So give us a call at 803-470-2830. That's 803-470-2830. And who knows, we just might hear you on 5P. Well, my next guest is the author of Empower Yourself, Awaken the Beast Within. That's BEAST Within. And he is also known as the Muscle Motivator. And he is also the No Label Defines Me guy. But right now, he's on a personal mission to eradicate loneliness and help people reconnect to their true self. Please welcome the Nathan Todd. Nathan, welcome.
Man, Lamondre, thank you so much. As you were introing me there right now, you know what ran through my mind? Man, for the no labels guy, I got a lot of labels going on right now. Let me tell you what.
Well, that's all right. But there are labels that you defined yourself. So they're not defining you. You did that yourself. And first of all, thank you so much for being a part of 5P, man. When I thought about this particular show, when I was creating this show, you were the person that came to mind because you were on this quest to help eradicate loneliness. And one of the parts of sustainable goal number 3 is about mental health. So let's talk about that. Why are you on this mission to eradicate loneliness?
Man, I am on this mission because it is an inclusive issue. Loneliness is an inclusive issue, and it's an issue. I recently wrote an article that I say it's the burden that we all carry. Every single human being, I think it's the burden we all carry, because stats show that 50% of us experience loneliness and 47% of us feel left out. And I think I'm on this mission because I know from my own perspective what that feels like. I know what it's like to have people talk down to you, treat you less than, and make you feel like your voice doesn't matter.
Well, and see, that's exactly what I was about to ask you. Now, we know the general concept of what is, but what actually is loneliness, and what are the ramifications of loneliness in our lives?
Boy, it's interesting. It's like a signal. It's just like thirst. It's just like hunger. It is your body saying, hey, watch out now. You are experiencing disconnection.
Disconnection.
Disconnection from those around you. And I believe truly disconnection from yourself and who you are at the core of your humanness. And the ramifications of that chronic disconnection, if you if you look at it and you say, yeah, I am feeling lonely, but I'm feeling that way because somebody gave me a label that told me I wasn't good enough.
Hmm.
And I feel like I can't talk about what I'm experiencing right now. It's the silent killer, man. It's the same as if we were going around smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow. Wow. Well, I tell you, this right now, like this show is airing on Thanksgiving in the U.S. And it's this time of year where people really began to feel that here in the U.S. People really begin right around the holidays is when they start missing loved ones that have gone on, or they're evaluating their lives at the end of the year, and maybe they didn't reach the goals or the aspirations that they had set up for themselves for that year, and that loneliness really starts to set in. In fact, what you'll notice is that there's an increase of suicides and attempted suicides during this time of year.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate, because what I hear most from the people that I work with and the other entrepreneurs that are in my circle, a thing that we're all looking for and we have a hard time finding is meaningful connection.
Right.
And I think that one of the reasons why that's so hard to find is it's not a question that we ask ourselves. What does meaningful connection look like?
Right. And that was actually going to be my next question. What does meaningful connections mean? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I think that's individual for every person. Like for me, meaningful connection means that I can have a conversation, or I can sit and do nothing with someone and be okay with that, feel okay with that, not feel like I'm supposed to be somebody else. I think that to me is what true connection is, that idea that I can show up and I can talk about whatever. And at the end of the day, when I'm fully connected, it's when I don't feel judged by someone for something I did or something I said.
Right. And I think that's important, because one of the things that you said that stood out to me was that it's about being okay. It's about that I am enough. I am.
Mm-hmm.
I write different memes and different sayings, and that was one of the videos that I produced was about being enough, and that was simply during a time when I was really struggling with some things myself personally. I was separated from my wife. I hadn't gotten a divorce at that time, but I was separated from my wife, and I was really, really feeling low. I was really feeling, as you say, disconnected. And I wrote a video, or I did a video about being enough, saying that I am enough, because so often it's what you said in the beginning. We don't feel like we fit in. We don't feel like we belong. We don't feel like we're connected. We don't feel like we're enough. We don't feel like we're okay just as we are. So what was it that made you decide that you could do something about that you could help people with that?
So it was really looking at my life experience of living with cerebral palsy and saying, what adversity have I been given that I can use to my advantage? Because that's one of the things that I always say is our adversity can be our greatest advantage. And I just looked and I said, what is something that I feel like every single one of my friends is going through that we're not talking about? And that I can be that voice to speak up and start to have that type of conversation, to be the guy who starts the conversation. I don't have to be the guy that has all the answers, because somebody out there probably knows more than I do from their own experience. But if nobody's willing to talk about it, then it truly becomes that silent killer. So
Right. And how do you start that conversation? How do you broach this? Hey, man, feeling lonely? How do you start that conversation?
Yeah. So I think that is where my other message of no labels really comes in, because I can start the conversation about, hey, how are you doing? First and foremost, it starts by asking somebody how they're doing.
But genuinely asking them how they're doing. Because
Yeah.
we get caught up into, hey, how you doing? And that's it. And we really don't wait for the response or care what the response is after that. It's just more of a salutation versus a real question.
That's the one thing I found too, is like, what's our automatic response usually? Oh, I'm fine.
Right.
I'm okay.
And that could be the furthest thing from the truth, because hell could literally be at your door. I mean, things could be falling down around you, but because it's a programmed response, that's what we give. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So how do you break through that?
You stop and you actually pause and give that space, and then you say, "No, hey, what's really going on?"
Yeah.
I want to give you time to actually, like, let's unpack that a little bit. And so that can get awkward.
I was going to say, that's got to freak people out though, Nathan.
Yeah.
It's got to be, wait, what?
What, you actually want to know?
Right.
That's one thing on this journey that I've realized, like, the way to break through and have conversations is ask questions that nobody's ever asking. So an example would be, like, you're in a networking event, you're around all these people. What's the first question? Who are you, and what do you do? Right? So everybody thinks of their job. But what if you said, hey, Lamondre, what are you creating in the world?
Right.
Like, who says that?
Right.
So what's the first thing that popped up when you heard that question?
The first thing that popped up into my head in terms of an answer was, I try to create authentic interactions. That was the first thing that popped into my head.
And look, that response is not a canned response. Like, people aren't going to come out and normally say something like that, I don't think.
Right. And see, and because I think that was my response, because that is the mission that I'm on. That is a part of who I am. It's a part of, Nathan, that went a little deeper than I thought just a second ago, man, because that's a part of who I am. And so what you asked me to reveal was a part of what connected me to purpose, what was a part of what connected me to the world that I'm in. So that's an incredible approach to take.
And guess what? So I like that you said purpose, because, purpose is really creating an emotion in the world and figuring out how to serve the world with that emotion.
Right. Say that again. So
purpose is creating an emotion, whatever that emotion is for you, and serving the world around you with that emotion.
Let's go deeper into that. Explain that. Break that down.
Yeah. So, let's say I want to create joy in the world. Like, that, I believe, is my ultimate purpose.
Okay.
If that's my ultimate purpose, how do I show up in every conversation that I have with that deep down at the front of my mind? Like, stop worrying about the outcomes and start focusing on, what does joy look like to me? What does a fulfilled life look like to me?
Right.
And I think then you start to be like, before we got on, like, I'm dancing around, right?
Oh, yeah,
nobody's going to see that because we're on audio.
Oh, I saw it.
But yeah. But it's like doing that kind of stuff where you're gonna freak some people out because it's different, and they're not gonna know how to handle that. And I don't know what everybody's emotion when it comes to their mind, what that is, but it's when you feel that emotion, what were you doing?
Right.
And if you can get down to what you were doing when you created that emotion for like the first time or the most recent time that you remember creating it, then how do you recreate that? What can you do right now to do something similar to that and do it with somebody else?
Right. Right. And so it is about creating that. It's about creating that purposeful dialogue, that dialogue of how you interrelate and how you fit into the world. And when I say fit, I'm not talking about into a category or a box, but I'm talking about the fact that I believe that each of us are keys, and we have the key that fits a particular lock, and that lock that we are to fit is the lock that unlocks all of the potential that we can really bring to this world. So how do we have that dialogue? How do we fit? How can we unlock the potential of what we have in the world? And that's the dialogue that living on purpose and really digging down to the source of who you are and what you are and how you get to that. So it sounds to me like a part of the definition of loneliness could be the barrier that keeps you from living authentically in your purpose.
Oh man, I'm totally gonna steal that. I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's a great way to put that.
And the other thing that I think about is that we live in a time where people are naturally disconnected, and well, I say naturally, but it's really unnatural because we always have our faces in screens.
Yeah,
we always have a cell phone or a device or something that is supposed to make us connect with people more, but what it does is it takes us out of the present. It takes us out of the moment that we're living in. And honestly, every experience is in the present. That is where the real experience is. I'm a huge Prince fan, and I was watching some concert footage of him. And at one point of the concert, he stopped and he just said, "Listen, I know you want to take pictures. I know you want to film. Just put your phones down for a second. This is happening right now." And the thing that I think about is so often we are not engaged in the present, simply because we're so concerned with the connected world that it has disconnected us so much. We've gotten so high tech that we've lost the simple touch of the person sitting next to you.
Yeah. And we worry about number of followers. We worry about number of likes. We worry about all these metrics that at the end of the day, chances are you're never going to see that follower. You probably aren't going to have a one-on-one connected conversation with them. And they're only going to know what you choose to show them. And it's such a filter that we put on, and it goes back to one of the major things that we all deal with is that fear of rejection and that fear of judgment.
Right.
So I think even on social media, we're all doing what we believe that we should.
Right. And honestly, because of social media, it is, I know people use this cliche all the time, but it's that concept on steroids, because it's an instantaneous thing. How many likes am I going to get? How many followers am I going to get? How many people? And I'm not talking about people who do that for business. I mean, as a content creator, I understand it. I got you. You need to measure it. Business is about measuring. That's a part of what it's about. But I'm talking about when it's the personal stuff and it's the seeking the validation of, oh, they didn't like my joke, or either, oh, they loved my joke. That whole back and forth thing. And the truth is, we absolutely lose ourselves. I mean, there are studies that show that those things are addictive. And of course, that's on purpose.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They know how to put that science together and get you coming back. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Nathan, tell me, how did you get on this journey?
How did I get on this journey? So, like, to take it all the way back, man, I remember sitting at the Center for Independent Living I was working at.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I remember thinking, there's more. We can be more inclusive. What does that look like? We talk about inclusion all the time, but are we really hitting that? And I think that's not even just from where I was sitting, but as an overarching movement for people with disabilities. I thought, are we really practicing what we talk about that we want all the time?
Right.
And that's what got me started. And when I came to the answer, I was like, yes, there is more that we can do. And there's more people that I think we can connect with that we're not connecting with because we're doing the things that we've always done.
Right. Right. And I will tell you, the conversation is changing. The conversation is changing. And I'm so happy that it is, even though we're facing a lot of adversity right now. And I'm talking about not just people with disabilities. I'm talking about as a society, as a culture, as a world. There is a lot of adversity that we're experiencing right now. There is a lot of divisiveness that's going on right now. But there is also a movement. There is also a shift. There is an energy that is coming into place where the conversation has changed. It's so interesting that you said you had that question while you worked at a Center for Independent Living. So did I. I had that exact same. For me, it was almost an epiphany that, wait a minute, there is so much more out there, and there is such a bigger world that I'm not really being a part of. In fact, in my efforts to be inclusive, I found myself in a very exclusive club and in a very exclusive world.
Yeah.
Because it was all about focusing on that one issue.
Yeah. And it's so funny that this is where this conversation is leading, because I had a conversation yesterday about young people with disabilities. And it was around, we focus so much on the big picture ideas, the need for housing, the need for transportation, all these institutional ideas.
Which are valid ideas and thoughts and issues.
Yes. But I think we missed the boat, because are we actually building the young person up to even have the awareness, the self-esteem, the knowledge to even advocate for whatever their issue in that area looks like?
Right.
I don't know if and I've been out of the movement for a minute now, so I don't know what that conversation is today, but I think that everything starts with the individual.
Yeah. Well, man, I would tell you, I think that I believe that there are a lot of great conversations going on out there, but I also believe that there is not enough going on out there. Because the reason that I say that, I look at how young people people with disabilities and people without disabilities, how it's the youth that are stepping up and are really saying, no, you guys have trashed the planet. We need to make a difference. I love the fact that the young advocate stood up and said, autism is my superpower. But look, she's not even focusing on disability issues. She's focusing on climate change. She's focusing on making the world a better place. I think about the students who were the high school shooting that happened in Florida, and all those students who stood up and said, no, we're not going to take this anymore. We need gun reform now. This is in the U.S. We need gun reform now. And I thought about it. There were kids with disabilities in that school as well. And I'll bet you they spoke out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's a part of why I do the show the way that I do it. Yes, I am a person with a disability. I have spinal muscular atrophy. But guess what? That's not the leading principle. I don't lead with my disability because that's not the sum total of who I am. I am a complete person. Now, don't get me wrong. My disability is a defining point, but it is not the defining point of who I am. Just like the fact that I'm African American is a defining point, but it's not the defining point of who I am. The defining point of who I am is the fact that I'm incredibly sexy. And I don't take back on that. No, I'm just, I'm playing.
Yes.
But seriously though, we are not one dimensional. We are not a monolith. Mm-hmm. We are a multifaceted being. That's who we all are. No one thing defines us, even though, as you so eloquently stated, that labels will try to define us. But the truth is, no label can. I don't fit in boxes. I crash them. I mean, I simply don't fit into pre-described boxes or pre-subscribed boxes. But the reality is, none of us do. None of us do. And my hope is that what we can do is we can put enough light, we can put enough positivity into the world, we can put enough value into the marketplace where people with disabilities are not, African American or not, white Irish guy or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is that I bring value, you see my value, and my value is appreciated. What I have to give to the world means something. And I have a legacy that I'm trying to leave to make this world a better place than when I found it. Man, that's what I believe it's about.
I love that you said that because I've found that when somebody is really dealing with, to get it back to the topic of loneliness, when they're dealing with loneliness, there are three things that come up. They don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, and they don't feel understood. Or I could replace understood with valued, because I think when you're understood, you feel valued.
Let's break those three things down one more time.
Yeah. So they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, and they don't feel understood.
Right. Right. And see, I believe you. I agree with that. I agree with that. And when those three things happen, when those three things occur, what are the results?
I would say when you get into the depression, like real deep depression, if you are feeling those unseen, unheard, and unvalued, you just start to build that negative story about who you are in the world. And then you lose your opportunity or your belief that something you do can change your world. So you stop taking action towards those things that you probably started, those dreams that you had. You just stop.
Right.
And you pull the covers over your head and you say, oh, well, I can't do anything, so I'm just going to lay here.
Right. And so if someone is feeling those three things, if someone is feeling unseen, unheard, and not understood or undervalued, how can they begin to turn that around?
Yeah. So I would put this on a mirror somewhere, on a sticky note somewhere, wherever you look every single day. It starts with being courageous. And what do I mean by that?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Loneliness, we think about it as an individual thing. The way to get out of that, or to begin to get out of that, is to actually go out and serve somebody else.
Go out and serve somebody else.
Yeah.
Be courageous and go serve somebody else.
Yeah. Because here's what happens. You get in that cycle of somebody told me I'm not worth it. I believe that. I stopped taking action. I stopped moving forward. But now in order to change that, I've got to take action. And anytime we can help somebody else, it's like giving is one of the most selfish things we can actually do, because it actually pumps us up more than the person that we're serving.
Right.
They're like, yeah, I helped somebody.
Right.
And that adds value.
Of course.
Like, if you're able to say, yeah, I helped this person, you automatically get a boost in your story about how you're creating value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So be courageous and serve someone. Serve someone else. What else can you do?
Oh, man. So I was going to say, and don't think that service means money.
Exactly. Say that again.
Yeah. Don't think that service means money. One conversation has the power to change the world.
Right.
And you have to think about the world not as a huge global thing. Start by thinking of it as the 360 degrees around you. When you think of it as the 360 degrees around you, you have a lot more control of who you can impact if they were standing that close to you.
Right. You know what? That's an important point to make. One of the reasons I created 5P was because I believe that the way we change the world is by focusing on what's right around us. If we began to just do the things that are right around us, that we can impact, that we can change, if we all do that, it's the aggregate of all of our efforts coming together that actually changes the world, that actually makes the world a better place. And that's why I've created 5P. This is me doing that. This is me using my talent, my gift, my voice, whatever I have in order to change the world. And the way that I change the world is by changing minds and having people have these great conversations like we're having right now. And so yeah, that's amazing. So in changing the perspective from this whole global thing that I'm going to change the world, that I'm just going to change what's right around me. What's next after that?
I think other things that you can do are start to look at your immediate relationships.
Okay.
Start to look at them and actually say, does this relationship give me energy or does it drain me? Does it feel like anytime I'm interacting with this person that I'm filled up, that they're filled up, or do I feel like, holy crap, we're having another conversation?
Right.
And so if you can identify that, then it's about setting boundaries. Setting boundaries about who you surround yourself with, what, like, any area of your life, to be able to set boundaries and say, what do I want in this area of my life? And if it is crossed, if somebody is crossing what I want, this is how I will respond to remove myself from the situation.
Right. And you know what's important about that is not only to set the boundaries, but make certain that there are boundaries. Make certain that you adhere to those things, because so often what happens is we'll say we're going to do this, we're going to set this boundary, and then when we're in the situation, well, maybe they didn't mean it, or maybe it's okay. And what ends up happening is we end up cheapening our own value.
Mm-hmm. You're giving your power away.
Exactly. You're giving your power away and allowing someone else to manipulate the way that you feel, because remember, they are not necessarily, they may know, but they may not. And they may not even care. But the truth is, it's still negatively impacting you. And you are responsible for you. Mm-hmm. Bottom line, you are responsible for you.
Preach.
Nathan, I really I really appreciate the perspective that you have shared with us today on 5P. And I'll tell you, you and I have known each other for a very long time. And I have to tell you, man, I am so proud of the man that you've become and that you continue to become, because, this is all about lifelong learning. This is all about evolution. And I think I told you a long, long time ago that for me, being successful was a good thing, and we should all, strive for success. But what I'm really reaching for is greatness. And greatness to me is about lifting others up as you rise. And I see you have taken that to heart, that you are lifting others up as you rise. And I just so appreciate the fact that you are living on purpose, that you're doing what you're doing, and that you're making a difference, that you've broadened your horizons and you are pushing forward. So thank you, man. Thank you so much. Tell me something, man. How can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so the best way to get in contact with me is through Instagram. My two most engaged platforms are Instagram and Facebook. So if it's Instagram, you can reach me at _Nathan_Todd, or you can reach me on Facebook at the Nathan Todd.
The Nathan Todd. Okay, fantastic, Nathan. Thank you again. I hope that the work you're doing, that you impact thousands. I know you're just interested in the 360 degrees around you, but that grows exponentially. And I really believe that what you have is an amazing message. I love the fact that your goal is to eradicate loneliness and help people reconnect with who they truly are. So I appreciate the work that you do. And I want to thank you for being part of 5P with Lamondre, man. I got to have you back again. You coming back?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And if I could leave the audience here with one last thing.
Absolutely.
If you are sitting here, you've listened to this episode, and you are like, I think I am experiencing loneliness. I think that I'm feeling disconnected from myself. I want you to know that no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing in the world, what you're creating, somebody out there is waiting to hear your voice. They're waiting to hear your story, and your story is going to empower them to change the 360 degrees around them. So you get to be courageous. You get to be patient. You get to be diligent. And most importantly, never, never quit.
Thank you so much, Nathan. So beautifully said. Well, that's about all the time that I have for this episode of 5P with Lamondre. I want to remind you that we do have a voicemail line. I would love to hear your thoughts about today's episode. So give us a call at our voicemail, 803-470-2830. That's 803-470-2830. I am Lamondre Pugh, reminding you that today is the perfect day to begin being the change that you want to see. Live big, live full, live authentic. God bless.